Picture this. It's 2026. It's Europe somewhere. Maybe it's Paris. Maybe it's London. There's a WrestleMania and the crowd is as hot as Backlash, France. This is Bob Cigar Wrestling. Let's talk about wrestling. Let's talk about Backlash, France. 99% of the internet can agree that crowd was the fucking coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. When Jey Uso was coming out of that entrance and the whole arena, was moving like a light, like a wall of light, I had shivers down my spine, down my arms, and I'm just sitting here tearing up, a grown man just thinking, I fucking love professional wrestling and it is the greatest form of entertainment on this planet. It reaffirmed exactly why I made this channel. I just want to talk about professional wrestling, man. It's so cool. I want to talk about Backlash. I want to talk about how cool that event was, how it's just ignited a fire I didn't even know that could be any brighter about professional wrestling. This thing started very hot. RKO come out to verse the Bloodline, and I went into this kind of saying, what is here? There's nothing really here other than like these guys just want to beat the shit out of each other, right? And I guess they kind of over-delivered on that premise. They come out and literally just start beating the shit out of each other. And then Nick Aldis comes out and goes, you know what? It's going to be a street fight. And this crowd went from what I already thought was 100% to 150%. And then they threw them into the crowd and the crowd's going fucking nuts for this just balls to the wall street fight. It's such great writing, or like, I don't even know how they make these shows. Like, I don't know if they knew the crowd was going to be this hot, but like, that was just a perfect storm of like, how do you take an excited crowd, an excited country about having wrestling, having a WWE PLE in their country for the first time, and start this show with a fucking bang? You pull them into that crowd and you make it a balls to the wall street fight where these people are just smashing each other. And fuck me, man, that match was so fun to watch. I was a little worried because the stakes weren't there, but I just think the stakes didn't need to be there. They just went out and just fucking wrestled. I'm trying to think about the spots in this match. I can't really remember other than that final spot where like Kevin Owens does some sort of neck, what do they call it? Like a brain buster or something off the top rope through the chairs. And I was baffled. I was like, these guys are just putting their fucking bodies on the line to deliver just great wrestling for a hot crowd that really deserved it. And it made for such a pleasurable viewing experience. I've said before in the past that like the crowd is almost like the third in a traditional match. It's like another character or another part of the performance of wrestling. And I went to WrestleMania 39. I went to Elimination Chamber in Perth, and I would pay a lot of money just to be a part of that crowd. That seemed like so much fun, and they really brought it. One interesting thing that I did notice about the crowd, though, was like it felt different in the sense of like, I feel like there's a rhythm to wrestling, especially like the way that wrestlers can move in the ring and the beats of like what that kind of process of a match is. And a lot of these chants kind of changed that rhythm. And it was like a bit of a stark difference to watch. Like you're used to certain kind of reactions from the crowd and that dictates the pace of the match. But this didn't happen. And I don't think the wrestlers were necessarily confused, but like, I feel like you could tell that like their rhythms were like thrown off a couple of times. That being said, I feel like Randy Orton really understood the crowd and he was like even playing into it. Like I think at one point, Kevin Owens jumps up on the barricade and then jumps off onto Tama Tonga, and the crowd was they kept going, up, and then Randy Orton gets up like, up, and then he just like steps down and breaks that rhythm. And I just thought that was like great kind of performing because he understands that crowd so well. The big upset here is we have a new member of the Bloodline, Tangaloa. It wasn't Jacob Fatu. I don't know who this guy is, but he looks like a member of the Bloodline and he looks fierce. He looks angry, and this bloodline's just growing. And every time they add a member to this bloodline and every time they lay rest to someone, I just keep thinking, Roman Reigns return with the biggest fucking babyface pop of all time. And we're going to be going, Daddy Reigns is back and he means business and he's going to wipe the fucking floor. And people have been saying like, we're going to get kind of old bloodline versus new bloodline. Sammy's going to come back. There's so many legs to this story. And it just goes to show like, there's so much story to be told here still with the bloodline. Maybe Paul Heyman was right. We were just in the third innings not long ago. Great open to Backlash. Very exciting. Propelled that story forward and just made me an even bigger fan of professional wrestling. The next match here, Bayley versus Naomi versus Tiffy time. I'm a huge Tiffany Stratton fan, if everyone doesn't know that already. I was begging for her to come out on top here. I know that's not going to happen. She's probably going to be a Money in the Bank winner, and that title is going to come a bit later for her. But I just think she is wiping the floor. Her and Jade Cargill are really just coming into this division kind of making these huge statements. This match was okay for me. The crowd made it really fun. Like this whole PLE from start to finish was just so enjoyable to watch no matter what was happening because the crowd was so into it, obviously. In terms of the wrestling match and what happened, the biggest standouts here for me was Tiffany Stratton. Those double Alabama slams onto the mat and the referee table, the announcer tables, and then, you know, her most beautiful moonsault. It's just, she is just a star, man. Like put the fucking belt on her and make her strut around this place like she owns it. Bayley's great. She's been around forever and we all love her, but she just needs to be chasing that title. Get them into a program ASAP. I feel like this was furthered in this scenario. I'm really, really excited to see what happens from here on out. Next, we have the tag team champs, the Kabuki Warriors, take on Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Again, we all have so much high hopes for Jade because she looks like an absolute monster. People are saying she's been rushed in too easy. Maybe she hasn't got it. She's botching moves and blah, 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 blah. I did notice that the rhythm got a bit off and you could tell that they were trying to salvage some sort of match here because something went wrong. I'm not even really too sure. But here's what I do know. The crowd was still so into it. Like, you have to remember we have such a unique perspective watching on TV. You kind of get this like inside coverage of the match. You're really up and close with these people because the camera's right there. You see a lot of the mistakes. You can kind of see the performance a bit more. I just think like the crowd had such a great time. So like, how can you really bash it? This person is a real person, Jade, and she's incredibly athletic. And yeah, sure, she's still trying to figure it out. You can see that with like Maxine Dupree, but at the same time, they're super over and the people love them. Like, give them a break. Like, people are so fucking mean online. It's like, it's still entertaining. Like, yeah, it's not real. It's all predetermined. I'm sorry to tell you, these people aren't actually killing each other and they don't actually hate each other. It's a work. It's like, okay, she botched a move or like it didn't go to plan, but give her a year or two. Her presentation's incredible. She's now a tag team champ with Bianca Belair. I think they can really make a statement on this division, and hopefully they can get some really great heels to come up against these guys. I thought the match was great. Jade Cargill looked really, really strong in the spots that she did. And just like Tiffany Stratton, her movesets are still way more impressive than 90% of the roster, including the men. When she figures out the psychology of the ring and how to kind of move in there in a more freeing way and make it look a little bit more organic, you're all going to be like begging she's the champion. And I'm a huge fan of Jade Cargill, so I'm excited to see what happens. I'm stoked that they got the titles. I knew that was going to happen. I think we all did. But again, a great match that the crowd obviously loved. And then we had the World Heavyweight Championship match. Jey Uso against Damian Priest, the world champion. Jey Uso is so fucking cool. Like, I was reading something this morning that people are like over his moveset. I don't care. Like, he could just super kick people and I think he would be entertaining. The way he plays the crowd like a fiddle, like, this is a performance. It's about the relationship between the wrestlers and the story they're telling and the audience. And the crowd is a part of that audience, but they also give this direct feedback on how the audience feels right then and there. What was it like to be there and watch this? Jey Uso has an ability, clearly, with his yeet gimmick to play the crowd like an instrument. And the way that they started this match with him interacting with the crowd, doing like yeet, 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 and like yeet, and then, kind of moving that into their moveset, and the way that they started the match that way, and the way it was pissing Damian Priest off because he just wanted to have a match, and Jay's kind of having fun with it. I just thought that was so fun to start the match that way, because it loosens it up, loosens the stakes, and then you can build from there into this like great match where you're like not sure who's going to win. They obviously put on such a great match, and they protected Jay really well at the end there because of the Judgment Day interruption. I said this last episode, Jey Uso deserves that title, but he doesn't need it. Damian Priest needs that title to become, a bigger star. And when you have someone as over as Jey Uso, the heel it almost doesn't have to do anything. It's just like you're immediately hated by the crowd because the other guy's so loved. Really interesting thing here is when Judgment Day have tried to interrupt and failed, and then Damian just got the win, and now he's pissed because his group are kind of making him look weak. I can see Damian kind of going down this path of like wanting to look like a dominant champion because he's kind of got this chip on his shoulder, right? He won that championship by winning the Money in the Bank, and he kind of got a cheap win almost at WrestleMania, you could say. Interesting going forward here is what this means for the Judgment Day. And what does this mean for Damian Priest? He wants to prove that he is a dominant champion and that he can defend on his own, defend well, and be strong and prove that he deserves that championship because he's the best, not because he won it in a cheap way. Again, great match. And then we had our boy, Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles. I kind of said that I wasn't sure what AJ Styles was all about until SmackDown, just before Backlash. It made it clear that this match wasn't necessarily about them hating each other, and maybe that's my misconception about wrestling. And if you guys have any idea on this, I'd love to like chat about this more, because I always just thought it was like good guy versus bad guy, right? And they made this less about like good guy versus bad guy and just like more like who's the best and who needs this the most. And sometimes that's all you need. And I thought there was some really interesting moments here because of how AJ Styles was so over with the crowd. They were so behind him that it didn't make Cody look weak or not a babyface, but it kind of made it feel just like the stakes were really high for each of these guys. Obviously, Cody was always going to win this, but I thought AJ put up a great fight and he didn't look weak. So I can see this match returning down the line, and I can see AJ Styles having a world title run. I just don't see how it's against Cody because of where he's tied up and how he's the face of the company. But what I will say is Cody Rhodes is still really popular. He's still super over. That whole crowd sung his song start to finish. Even when the music stopped, they were still singing, and they were singing till the end of that show, and they were showing how much they loved Cody Rhodes. Cody came out and he gave it his all, and he proved to the world what kind of champion he's going to be, and it's going to be a champion who's going to try and one-up himself every single time. The Cody cutter off the top rope was so risky but so cool to kind of solidify the end of that match of like, I am going to give it everything to prove to the WWE Universe that I deserve this title and that he's going to make this run really, really, really interesting. The match was great as always. Like they built it really well. The crowd were really behind AJ Styles, and they were just body slamming and jumping and kicking, and like the athleticism of these guys and the rhythm, and it was such a pleasurable match to watch. Like, it's really nice to watch two wrestlers when they have such great chemistry and they can kind of tell this story of who's got enough juice in the tank to kind of take it to the end. And Cody just looks better and better every week. This is the first time, just for me, I was like, how much has he got left in him? Like, can he keep operating at this level for another couple of years? I don't know what the lifespan here is, but like, he just looks like $1 million. His ring gear, his title, it all looks so great on him. I just believe him as the champion. And then when he speaks at like the press conference and he talks about the foils coming up with, he wants Randy, he wants LA Knight, he wants all these guys, he wants to see what kind of magic he can make with these guys. It just reinforces how I feel about this era of wrestling. It's so exciting. You have these people who are passionate, they're connecting with the fans, and they're incredible wrestlers. And it's backed up by Triple H, who is leading the creative team to write really compelling stories and push this art form into new territories through the production, through having overseas pay-per-views with crowds that are just hungry to have it, that aren't spoiled for choice, and are showing how there's people all around the world, just like me from Australia, that love this and will love it and will show you how much we love it. And I think that symbiosis between the product they're creating and how we're interacting as a community just is making this product even better and pushing it to new heights. So for me, Backlash was just a great experience. I showed so many of my friends videos of Jey Uso and the crowd and how hot they were. And you can just see people's kind of perspective of this sport shifting. They go, oh, that is kind of interesting. What is that? And they're like watching it a bit longer. And being wrestling fans, we know what it's like talking to non-wrestling fans. It takes a while for them to come around. But just every day, I feel like more and more people are coming around. I'm so glad to be a part of this community. Love sharing my thoughts with you guys. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know what else you want to see from me. I'm going to review some old matches and see what I think of them. And I'm going to keep talking about the current product and what I feel about it. So thanks for watching. Subscribe, and I'll keep watching, and comment below if you have anything you want to talk about. I'm replying to all the comments. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys.